You may not know right.
Folks, we got 10 news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security news, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this important stimulus check information. Action is being taken right now. Kevin McCarthy has just confirmed that a debt ceiling vote will likely happen on Tuesday, and this could save millions of Americans from huge financial changes from the federal government. Today, Kevin McCarthy announced that Congress will meet the deadline to raise the debt ceiling, acknowledging that no deal has been made by voting an agreement will be reached in time to prevent a government default. Janet Yellen raised the stakes in the marathon negotiations on Friday, when she provided the first hard deadline for when the government will be unable to pay down all of its obligations. June 5th, everybody, is the date. And asked if Congress can meet that deadline, McCarthy didn't hesitate to say yes. McCarthy vowed that he'll stick with the 72-hour rule, providing lawmakers a full 3 days to read a text of the legislation before they're asked to vote on it. McCarthy even said he's been in talks with Senate leaders about how much time they'll need to meet the June 5 deadline. And if a deal is reached tomorrow, that would set the stage for a House vote on Tuesday. McCarthy declined to name the barriers that remain as he and his deputies haggle with the White House negotiators over the last outstanding disagreements. But he said Republicans have not dropped the demand for permitting reform designed to eliminate regulatory hurdles to energy infrastructure projects. It's something Democrats have opposed for fear that it would degrade the environment at the expense of poor communities. McCarthy also confirmed that Republicans have been in discussions with Carson Sinema and moderate Democrats on particular issues. The speaker outlined the rollout of any deal and saying he would make a vague announcement that would withhold the details of any agreement to allow lawmakers to read the bill before the press and public do. Still, people all over the nation are now wondering what will happen to lawmakers if their personal finances are not met. Based on Social Security Administration payment schedules, a June 5 default might actually protect beneficiaries from the potential delayed checks and direct deposits, because individuals receiving the payments are still going to receive the money, but maybe in a later date. If the Treasury Department is unable to successfully prioritize payments for Social Security, the consequences for these groups can be devastating. Beyond the initial group of payees, the Social Security Administration monthly payment calendar suggests that there is a bit more breathing room for other beneficiaries, providing that lawmakers reach a deal beforehand and the next beneficiary payments are not expected until June 14th. So, the debt default picture is also cloudy for individuals who rely on Medicare and Medicaid to pay for bills. But the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services said that these government health programs are defaulting on the national debt and would severely damage the crucial health care programs that millions of Americans rely on. And since Yellen was the first on a debt default, she said it could happen within a few days of June, and the short-term U.S. borrowing costs have soared as investors demand greater return for the risk that they won't be paid on time.
Will not raise taxes on anyone making over 400,000 grand. And I'll pay for it all, my proposals, by making the wealthy and big corporations pay just a little bit more. Like I said, do you think a trillionaire should be staying at 3%? Look, I'm a capitalist. If you can make $1 million or $1 billion, I said trillion. If you make $1 billion or $1 million, God love you. But just...
I can't believe this is happening, folks. Millions of Americans will see their monthly benefits disappear. And the White House has already confirmed that Joe Biden will be ending the national public health emergency. And so what this means is that many low-income households, seniors, will see a drastic change to the monthly benefits. Now, the White House has officially announced today that Joe Biden intends to end his public health emergency, and that means that many Americans can have to start paying for testing and treatment after the declaration ceases. So the White House folks said in a statement that this wind down would align with the administration's previous commitments to give at least 60 days notice prior to the termination of the public health emergency. So this has enabled the Americans to provide, and the government to provide Americans with tests and treatments at no charge, as well as other enhanced social safety net benefits, and to help the nation cope with the crisis and minimize its impact. So a senior vice president at the Family Foundation told CNN, people have to start paying some money for things that they didn't have to pay for during the emergency. That's the main thing people will start to notice. Most Americans covered by Medicare.
Mr. President, First Lady, thank you so much for being here to listen to the local people and to see for yourself the devastation that will require a lot of federal resources. Mr. President, you and Vice President Kamala Harris were among the first people to call me in the early days of this growing disaster. And the fires that raced through this town consumed practically everything in its path. Lives were lost. Our hearts go out to all of the people who lost loved ones and who lost everything.
Folks, it is a great time for Joe Biden to do one thing, and that's to send out the fourth stimulus payments. Because higher prices have made it difficult for Social Security, everybody. Higher prices have made it difficult for the SSA in getting ready to make direct payments. New research from the Senior Citizens League shows that rising costs means beneficiaries have lost 30% of their buying power since 2000. To be able to live well on Social Security benefits, today retirees need an extra $500 a month, and that doesn't come easy. Social Security's COLAs have increased 78% since 2000. At the same time, the cost of goods and services that retirees typically buy has gone up by 141% over that time. This year's loss in buying power, measured from January 2000 through February 2023, improved a 40% decline based on last year's study. Yet the current 36% loss in buying power is still one of the deepest losses recorded. It only makes sense for Joe Biden to do more for the American people in sending out stimulus checks. Do you guys? Folks, we got a lot of information about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SDI. Continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. Joe Biden has a lot to give. And I believe he can send out the fourth stimulus check. Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden will meet Monday to resume talks on how to avoid a catastrophic debt default. Even today, Joe Biden met at the White House, and he's meeting with Republican leaders to move their extreme positions to achieve bipartisan consensus on the fourth stimulus payment. But so far, time is running out. Cash continues to drain out the U.S. Treasury Department, and according to the latest Treasury update, the Treasury General account fell to $57 billion. That's the lowest in a long time. Now, this new low is actually lower than it was 2 years ago. And for the past couple of months, Janet Yellen has reaffirmed her warning that the government will run out of money. And once the government runs out of money, that means no stimulus payments. So Joe Biden must solve the issue right now in Congress. And the issue is this: the lawmakers have butted heads over Republicans' push for several provisions. One is the work requirement for government-funded programs like Medicaid, and one is for the SNAP benefits. For many Americans, a medical emergency can lead to a financial crisis. And this means one thing: Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders is saying that the current healthcare system in the United States is totally broken. And with the House and support of Democratic representatives, it's possible for Bernie Sanders to get that problem solved. Folks, there are improving new relief. The lawmakers are passing a bill that provide many low-income households with extra financial assistance. These relief programs are being funded through the American Rescue Plan Act.
For weeks, we have been talking about the price of gas, and we've been feeling it, but some relief could be on the way. House Democrats want to give you some money to help with the sticker shock. The proposal would send an energy rebate of $100 per month to individuals, or $200 for couples, plus one